We are back at Fairway Columbus. This is a playoff kickoff. We are getting ready at the only way I know how. A big game with a drink with Michael Bennett, Zach Boren, Bill Landis. I am Austin Ward. Ohio State, Tennessee, Saturday night, 8 p.m. What are the vibes, Mike? How are we feeling?
I got to be honest with you. I'm a little nervous. I think coming off of that loss to Michigan, there's two ways the team can go. Either it breaks their spirit, everybody's kind of looking around, pointing fingers, not trusting the coach, not trusting their teammates, whatever it is. That happens. That's especially with this team who hasn't had a lot of success in big games, hasn't had a lot of success with trophy games. That makes me nervous. I will say, though, I haven't seen that. I haven't heard that, because the other direction they can go is they gather together. They really, batten down the hatches. They're like, we have to get this. We have to win one. And then there's no greater motivation. So, it'll be a toss-up. We know that this team can come away with a W. We know they've got the talent. Yep. It's really, what are the coaches going to do on the day? Are they going to, show up and get out of their own heads? And are the players going to do what they're capable of in that offense? We need it to be firing on all cylinders.
In 12 years of being an Ohio State fan post-playing, right, this might be the weirdest big game I have ever experienced. And the reason why I say that is every big game, there is that feeling in Columbus, Ohio, especially a home big game. Like, I would argue in 12 years, this is probably besides what 2016 was 1 versus 2 with Ohio State, Michigan, or 2 versus 3, I forget what it was. Outside of that, this might be the biggest game that Ohio State Stadium has seen and this Ohio State fan base has seen at home in however long. And it still feels like the city is in a hangover from the Michigan game. Yeah. Like the 2 weeks after the Michigan game, everyone was in mourning. I'm going to meetings throughout the day, and I'm like, it's an eerie feeling. Yeah. It's dead.
Hey,
there's
your
no
texts
energy.
Were depressing, bud.
No, I know, right? But even this week, I figured this week they would start to amp up, and it's Thursday, and it has not amped up. I'm not saying this is in a bad way. It's just a very weird feeling, and I feel like everyone still has that Michigan taste in their mouth, and I feel like it's going to be that way until probably like an hour before kickoff. And I feel like an hour before kickoff, that stadium's going to start getting a feel. Everyone's going to be like, that ball's about to be kicked off here pretty soon.
In a playoff game.
Yeah, after that first play, I think that entire visual feeling hangover that everyone has from Michigan game is going to be out the door, and everyone's going to be ready to go.
I want to jump in on that because I think that's a great point. Like, it really felt like that Michigan loss deflated the city. Yep. I know it deflated me. I still have that hangover. Like, so I think for the fans especially, it really did. It stuck with us. It's heartbreaking. It was tough to stomach.
It's still there.
And so I agree with you, Zach. Like, once people get into the stadium, once they feel the atmosphere again, maybe the hope will rise. I'm just hoping that the team could insulate themselves from that, and they could gather together, because it really does feel like it permeated the whole city. So this is a good opportunity for them, but I hope they've been able to keep their heads strong.
It does feel to me after 3 days of media availability, a practice on Tuesday, 15 minutes of a practice to watch, that in the Woody they had turned the page. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Bill, but it does. Like, they're going to have to carry the loss, Mike. Like, we know that.
That's the hard thing, and that's what I was talking about. Is so many times, especially playing a home game, you feel that home environment. You feel that home field emotion starting to build up, especially on a Thursday, right? Like, you start feeling in the town. Right now, this team is shouldering that emotion, right? Like, if this team goes out and has a fast start, that stadium is going to flip upside down, and people are going to be ready to go, and they're going to throw everything away, or all their feelings away from previously. If that team goes out and moves slow and has a slow start, that hangover is still going to stay around, right? So I hate to say it, like, this team controls so much of the emotion of the game that they have to go out, and normally it's not like that. But after that performance, I feel like they are shouldering the weight of the city of Columbus, of the stadium. They have to manufacture that juice early on.
I picked up that the players had, I think, moved past is probably not the right word for it, but I think have sort of refocused on the Tennessee game. So I don't know that I'm super worried about that. And I think from the fan perspective, I think you guys are right. It's going to take until maybe a little before kickoff for them to come back. I also think there's an interesting dynamic at play with Austin, you and Berm were talking about this on Thursday mornings daily. Whatever the fan breakdown is, this will be the most opposing fans that have ever been in Ohio Stadium. And I think that might snap the Ohio State fans into game mode pretty quickly.
I agree.
Without a fast start.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it has there's multitude of factors, and everyone over social media wants to talk about the whole ticket situation, right? Like Tennessee was allotted a certain amount of tickets as it was, right? You go to the secondary market, it's who knows
plummeting right now.
Yeah, people are going to say, people have said it's 30,000 Tennessee fans. Who knows if it's really that number?
But even if it's like 5, that's more than it normally is.
No, correct, and I think it is because guess what? It's the nature of the beast, and you're seeing it at Penn State. Texas has reports this week of the game not even being sold out, right? Like you're seeing it because it's the weekend before Christmas. Everyone has Christmas plans. You got to think like up here, it's cold weather. Everyone in Texas, it's warm weather, but they don't even want to do it. So it's like in Tennessee has not been in the college football playoff ever, right? And so you got a fan base that's super excited, so they're going to travel. Just like I feel like, I hate to say it, Ohio State fans would be 10,000 deep in an away stadium if they were in the playoffs somewhere else, right? But everyone still wants to point the finger at Ohio State the home field. Ohio State fans not being there, not supporting. If it rolls reverse, there'd be 10,000 in Neyland Stadium.
It's not Ohio State season game.
I only mentioned it to say that I think that's going to get the Ohio State fans fired up.
I'll also add, I think the cold weather's going to help us because everybody's going to be in their liquor blanket, and like that's what Ohioans know how to do that. They know how to prepare for a cold night game.
Well, Tennessee fans do know how to put on
I'm saying, I think it's going to make the game rowdier.
They're pretty similar
because
people.
fans are going to have to.
So
they got to have to get ready for it.
Two comments. I agree with you real quick, so everyone isn't freaking out. I have talked to multiple people in the Woody Hayes this week. The motivation is there. Like they are probably as ready for this game as they have been for any game this year. And when I say ready, like, yes, they were motivated before Michigan, but they weren't. They were expected to go out there and win. Yes, they were motivated against Oregon, but the season wasn't on the line, right? Like this game, they are so motivated. I was talking more from the fan perspective, but then the other thing is, I was in Knoxville this year for the Alabama-Tennessee game, right? It was Ohio State's bye week, and that's where I was. Those Tennessee fans are crazy. You're right. Tennessee and Ohio State fans are very weirdly similar.
I've spent 19 of the last 21 years, Zach, either covering Tennessee or Ohio State or, being around them. I'm aware of their priorities, their expectations. Some are more realistic than others, but in terms of fan base passion, the skill of the band, the liquor propensity, they are cut from the same cloth. And that's what I think makes for a potentially fascinating mix on Saturday at 8 p.m., especially if you have all day together. And the orange is hard to miss.
I'll say this, too. They've been on social media all week talking about how Tennessee, and I didn't know this, are big flag planners, right? And obviously it's a sore subject with Ohio State. This is what I say.
It's a Class 5 felony.
This is what I'm going to say. As Ohio State fans, you know what we should be doing? We should be bringing our bourbon and cigars, and so we smoke one on their ass after the game on Saturday night. Because guess what? That's what they do with the Alabama game. Guess what? There would be nothing better than having just pictures of Ohio State fans puffing a big old fat cigar on them at 11 o'clock when they're riding back to Knoxville, Tennessee.
See, I don't know why you're worried about the fan base. If you just go out there and once we get this message out.
I'm handing cigars out left and right.
All right. So, as you guys mentioned, it is cold, but it is warm at the Fairway Columbus. So if you need to work on your game, this is the place to do it. Open all the time. They are having a watch party on Saturday night, $20 buckets, and you can play golf at the same time if you want. $50 an hour for that. This is the place to keep your game sharp. But if you're trying to get warm, one way is with some hot takes. Who wants it? Bill, you want to start?
No, I don't want to start. Somebody else.
Mike,
start.
bring the fire and brimstone, Mike.
All right, so before my hot take, I'm going to say my hot take last time.
Well, wait, Berm's not here yet.
Okay,
You two
I'll wait for that.
You can hash it out with him later.
All right. I know I come in with doubts sometimes. My hot take is that we are going to do very well against Tennessee. I I predicted
You better
45.
get hotter than that.
Well, how about this? How about this for a hot take?
Okay.
Will Howard's not going to throw a pick six or a crunch time interception.
Okay.
How's that for a hot take?
All right.
All right.
That's
Now
my
we're
hot
getting
take tonight.
But what were you going to say about why you're confident Ohio State's going to handle this game?
Well, I was going to say that I had predicted 45-10 against Michigan. That might have been, I was getting lost in the sauce a little bit. That was rivalry.
There were
week.
three score favorites.
It's a
I
rivalry
don't think
game.
it's that far off.
That's what I felt in my heart. This game makes me a little bit more nervous, but I really do think that the last game, our offensive play calling was suspect. I think there were
Seems to be putting it mildly.
putting it mildly. I think there were narratives that were running around that made us get out of our game and do stuff that was uncharacteristic. I don't think we have that this game.
Okay.
I think we're going to air that ball out. I think the guys we're going to be able to unleash the offense to its full potential. I think this is the best Ohio State defense we've had that since I've been paying attention to Ohio State. I think this should be pretty one-sided. Maybe Tennessee, I've heard they've got a good run defense. I heard they can run the ball well. I don't think there's a more talented team than Ohio State. And when you don't get locked in on narratives,
Yep.
I think that this team can really cause some issues. So I think my hottest take, I think it's hot to me because, like I said, I'm still
Because of
deflated
what
from
happened
Michigan.
3 weeks ago?
Yeah, so, it seems kind of crazy.
Oh,
but,
it's spicy. That was spicy.
but I think that we're going to handily handle Tennessee.
All right.
And Will Howard's not going to throw a crunch time interception.
There we go. Double it up.
On the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
A little extra pepper.
I mean, my hot take.
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
I mean, I am picking Tennessee to win the game. Is that a
Hey,
is that a
Get
is
out.
that-
Go ahead, get out.
I don't trust the O-line, man. Like I just think they're in a real bad spot going up against this defense. I'll be happy to be wrong, but that's why I'm picking Tennessee. But I don't want to give a hot take about that because no one cares. I do think.
mean, the justifications for it are worth.
That's about as hot as a hot
Yeah,
take
that's
gets,
a
right?
hot take.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess they're a touchdown underdog, right? But I don't know. I do think like the pathway for me for Ohio State to win is pretty clear, and it is to air the ball out, like Mike said. I think there's an opportunity there, like coming off of like award season, maybe for like Jeremiah Smith to remind everyone that he probably should have won the Blitnikoff Award, even though he wasn't a finalist, and for Caleb Downs, I think to remind everyone that he should have won the Thorpe Award. He was a finalist for that award, and he didn't win it. So like. Is it outrageous or bold to say Ohio State stars are going to show out? Not necessarily, but I think that there are a lot of people nationally, like I'm not alone in picking Tennessee. I think there are a lot of people nationally who are down on Ohio State's talent right now, and I don't necessarily think that that's the right view to have on Ohio State. I'm a little down on the coaching staff and whether or not they're going to put them in the right position to go win this game. But I agree that Ohio State has the best roster in this playoff. Like there's offensive line issues, but if you can look past that, defense is great, skills great. I think Will Howard has a quality to him that wasn't shown in the last game, but I think if he plays well, is good enough to go get Ohio State a national championship. So maybe my hottest take, if you want to look at it from the view of Ohio State doing well here in this game and in this playoff, is that it will remind everyone by the time that it is through that it does and it has had the best roster in college football all season.
I think that it's a great point, and I've mentioned this to you already. The fact that the line has not moved from 7.5 all week is significant to me because there's a ton of people that are saying, well, the Vols are motivated. Their fans are going to come. They run the ball incredibly well. Their defensive front is going to manhandle Ohio State's makeshift offensive line. All right, well, if that's the case, I would have thought that Vegas would adjust to that, and they haven't. So that's not the be-all, end-all. But to me, it strikes as a reminder that we are hyper-focused. We watch every single snap that Ohio State plays. We criticize it more than anyone else. It's like talking about your brothers or your family. Like, we can pick on them, but if you say something bad, then we're going to fight. Like I think that they're held to a standard locally that is not the same nationally, which is always going to be the case, but it might go double for Saturday night in terms of what I'm expecting to happen, which is that they might say, oh, Ryan Day's job is on the line, or the horseshoe, the Buckeyes would be better on the road, and all these other narratives. And then they say, well, who's going to win the game? Ohio State. Because they're the more talented team.
Right.
Like that's what it's like. It's more fun to take the pot shots and try and insult them and criticize them, but then they look at the roster and no one can bring themselves to actually pick against them, except some of these bettors. But they can light their money on fire if they want. That's fine.
Is that your hot take?
That's not a hot. I don't know. I just
That was just some color.
just had to getting it off my chest. I guess. I did want to ask though, Zach, because we talked about on Monday the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's worked out, and Bill brought it up, which is why it's in my mind here. It looked like on Tuesday night that Tegra Shabola would still start at right guard and Luke Montgomery would be at left guard. That wasn't one of the potential outcomes that we really thought was possible.
No, it wasn't, and I think there were some things after the Michigan game that came about, which is why it's set up that way. And I know everyone, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but I'm going to say it anyways, because guess what? We've made it all year without me letting anything out of the bag. So, everyone wants to make a big deal about the rotating guard comment. I think if Austin Sareveld was healthy coming out of the Michigan game, that line would be Luke Montgomery at left guard, Austin Sareveld at right guard. The issue is Austin Sareveld hasn't been practicing the past couple of weeks. So this is his first week back after nursing a little something after the Michigan game. And so when you've got 2 weeks of practice leading up to the actual game week of practice and that guy's not there, you can't pull Tegra out at that point, right? So I think Tegra's going to start. I think Tegra's on a very short leash. So when you want to talk about rotating guards, I think it's only, hey, Tegra gets a start. If he shows any signs of how he played against Michigan, they're pulling him right away, and Austin Sareveld's going in. So it's not a true rotation. So for everyone on social media that wants to talk about a rotation, Ryan Day's just saying that because guess what? He's covering his ass for when Tegra plays terrible. You can throw Austin Sareveld in. So when. I mean, I'm just keeping it real, right? Keeping it real. So here's my hot take. Bill, I don't disagree that Tennessee can win this game because, in my opinion, I think Tennessee's probably the fourth best team in this playoff.
Really?
Truly do. I think they're the fourth best team in the playoff. And so when you've got, a top team out of 12, they can very much win the football game. Here's one thing that I think is going to make Ohio State win. It's Jeremiah Smith, right? And I also think the other thing is Will Howard is motivated after that game against Michigan. And so this is my hot take.
And healthy.
Yeah, and healthy. That Will Howard throws for over 300 yards. Jeremiah Smith is over 150. And that's the way they're going to win this football game. I agree with you. Talking to coaches, watching film, Tennessee's D-line is deadly, right? Deadly. They are going to try and get after the quarterback. And what happens is, we've seen it all year. What happens when Ohio State's defensive ends take a wide rush trying to use a speed rush to get to the quarterback? Opens up massive lanes, right? Will Howard is going to use his legs and make some throws on the run, which he's so good at doing. And guess who's also very good at extending plays? The Ohio State wide receivers. Like, they have thrived on that over the years. And so I think they're deadly, I agree, but I almost think you can use it to your advantage because those guys pin their ears back and they try and use their speed to speed rush up on the outside. Now, the defensive linemen are great. They're big, ugly, the big dudes of the SEC. I don't think Ohio State's going to try and run the ball inside against them. And I
hope not.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State knows that. And I think going into it, they're like, hey, we probably got to throw the ball 35 times this game. And that's what's going to happen. And that's why I think that's a key to success. The other thing is watching the Tennessee-Alabama game, Jalen Milroe late in that game was able to keep Alabama in the game because he ran the football.
He did.
Will Howard has not shown that this year. And I think with that speed rush and those guys trying to get after the quarterback, another thing that's going to open up is finally Will Howard's going to be able to run with his legs. And yes, he needs to get down a little earlier with some of his runs. But I think they can use that to their advantage.
I got a couple comments. Because I think about the D-line thing, like, that's definitely an issue. Bill, you mentioned it.
For sure.
Zach, our O-line is not at its strongest. Their D-line is solid. Like, that's going to be something. I don't fully understand the worry because the only reason that was an issue in the Michigan game is because we kept running it at them. Like, there are ways to neutralize a good D-line, a good interior D-line. I don't know how many screens I've seen us throw. I don't know how many bubble screens I've seen us throw. Like, I always go back to 2013 when we played Clemson. We had a strong defense. We had a strong D-line that was, I won't say the strength of our defense, but, like, we had been doing well that season. Yeah. All they did was throw bubble screens to Sammy Watkins. All game. They do a couple QB scrambles when we get, rushing up the edges. But that was the game plan, was bubble screens to Sammy Watkins.
Slow him down.
I think we have better receivers than Sammy Watkins, and Sammy Watkins was really good. So there are ways for us to navigate this game where that stellar D-line doesn't just beat up on our O-line and cook us all game. We just got out of ourselves because it was a rivalry game, and there were too many narratives floating around that got in people's heads.
The other thing that we didn't do against Michigan at all, and I was very shocked because we've been able to do it, and we actually haven't even shown as much as back out of the backfield. Like, back out of the backfield is so
Judkins was
hard.
killing people with that.
So hard to cover. So hard to cover.
Off-tackle runs.
Yeah, we never went to the back out of the backfield, and especially it's a quick-hitting pass. You can run a little option route. You can run angles. You can do any of those things. And they didn't show it against Michigan, which, again, was very odd. Mm-hmm. I feel like they've got so many more tools in the arsenal to be able to throw at
That's
Tennessee.
what made November 30th so befuddling.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's why I said what I said about the coaching staff, because I agree with both you guys 100%. If you're telling me Ohio State's going to get playmaking Will Howard, quick game, screens, thrown to the backs, Ohio State's going to win.
By 30.
But I haven't.
Well, then you had the wrong hot take.
But I haven't
Your
seen
hot take
it.
should have been, I don't trust the coaches. Tennessee's going to win the game. That should be your hot take.
I think it was all
That
wrapped
is
up
my-
in it.
that
I
is
feel
my
like the
hot
coaching
take.
staff,
Yeah.
they hear that and they're like, but that's too easy. Like, of course we can do that. We can go back to the well anytime. We're going to do this to prove this. It's like, just win the game. Just play to where your strengths are instead of where you wish your strengths were. Go recruit for where you wish your strengths were, and then play to that. But like, for right now, we know what Ohio State does. They do those quick passes. They've got all-star receivers. They've got incredibly athletic backs who can do a wide range of things. Yes, they could run it up the middle if they had a more intact offensive line.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not what we got. I haven't even seen much tight end play, and we're very good at that when we do it.
It'll help to have a healthier Will Kazmarek on Saturday night as well. But I think all those points are valid.
Oh, I was also going to say, I think we're done with Will Howard trying to run the ball. I think he's good in the pocket.
Listen, I'm not saying designated runs. When I say
I've
running
seen him
the
try to
football,
scramble.
I
Not
think
impressed.
he's going to scramble and get some long ones.
I hope so.
What's his
but
longest run of the year?
Not impressed.
What's his
His
longest
longest
run?
run of the year is probably like 18 yards.
Yeah,
Is that when
It
he's
might have been in the first game.
He's gonna beat it
Okay.
Saturday.
he could have gone.
I'm waiting to see the play we saw in camp where he got to the edge and ran
ran.
like a 70-yard touchdown.
Hey, they're not allowed to
That
hit
did
the quarterback in camp.
All right. Bill already knows my hottest take.
Is it special teams related?
Well, that would be too scorching. That's not safe.
No, I know what it is.
For broadcast. I just don't believe, point blank period, that Tennessee is going to be able to run the football on Ohio State. I don't think anyone that builds a game plan around trying to do that is going to find success. Like, I know that Dylan Sampson is really good. I know that maybe they could, maybe their most success would come by running the quarterback and like getting extended plays from Nico Iamaleava. Like, that's possible because I've seen Drew Aller do that. And he has no business doing
Dylan
it.
Raiola did
I saw
it.
Dylan Raiola do it. He has no business doing that. Like, that's possible. But in terms of like lining up and trying to batter and wear out Ohio State with Dylan Sampson 25 to 30 times, which is what they're, I think, intending to do. That doesn't work.
It's what they tried to do against Georgia.
I've seen people dating back to 2014 think that that's an approach to beat Ohio State's defense. And for all the criticism that we may have or be critical of the pass rush and all those other things, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Tyleek Williams, and Ty Hamilton are just not going to be beat up front.
I'll tell you,
by rushing.
I
attack,
have
in
no
my opinion.
complaints about this defense this year. I don't even have any complaints about the D-line. I know we want to see sacks. I know we want to see strip sacks.
I do. Thank you.
I do too. I do too. But when you're holding teams to 10, 13, less than 20 consistently, I know we take it for granted or whatever, like that should have been blah, blah, blah. That is a very stout defense. And I think that's part of the frustration. We hear there's friction between LJ and, Knowles and all this kind of stuff. I think part of that is because LJ loves cooking. But Knowles plays that bend, don't break defense. So he's trying to make sure you don't get scored on. LJ wants to go heat up the quarterback, but sometimes, you call it a spy or cage. Sometimes you're just trying to keep this college quarterback who can't tear you apart with his arm in the pocket and let him make his own mistakes. And then if he tries to break out, you go get him. But if Zach, you just mentioned it. You got DNs flying upfield. That opens up the whole defense because now they can break out each side. The DBs aren't going to be able to cover all that. The linebackers aren't going to be able to keep up with that. So I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but that cage defense is very effective against college QBs who usually the college QB is just kind of your best athlete who can throw the ball in college, but they're not Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? They're not Peyton Manning. So keeping them in the pocket is going to help you. So that's all I have to say is, like, I know we've been critical on the D-line. I love a strip sack as much as the next guy, but I also love winning big
Game
games.
changing.
It is a
They're
game
game
changer.
changing.
I don't want a sack. I want a strip sack, which we haven't seen much of this year.
I would just take a sack.
No.
Right? Just give me a
No,
sack.
give me a strip sack.
One sack would be all
One
right.
sack.
They told us don't even, in the NFL, they told us, all right, like, who cares if you took the quarterback down? He's holding the ball out here. Go get the ball. If you're not swiping at the ball, you're leaving money on the table.
Plus, if you hit the quarterback, you get a penalty in the NFL.
So just go get the
Against
ball.
the rules.
There were guys who really wouldn't, like, I think the guy I played with, Yannick, he never tried to tackle the quarterback. All he tried to do was swat the ball. Ended up having, like, 9 strip sacks in a season or something like that, consistently.
I think you can make money that way. Zach, do you know how many fumbles Nico has this year?
Oh, wow, you put me on the spot.
It's 9.
Okay, I was going to guess 11.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was going double digits.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
the over.
Maybe after Saturday.
I was going to guess 11, yeah. Here's
Oh,
the
he's
other,
projecting.
Hey,
Okay.
here's the other thing. If they try and run Nico and Nico gets out of the game, they don't have much to go to.
He's pretty skinny, too.
Yeah, he is.
Hey,
Well,
did they ever
just a little
you
advice
played
there
linebacker.
for-
Did you ever hear him say, hold him up?
Yeah, hold him up and just go for his ribs.
They used to
right?
say, hold him up.
Yeah,
They
hold
say,
him up
first
while-
guy
while
get
the-
there,
while the
wrap
next
him up,
guy,
hold
yeah.
him up. Other guys tee off him.
Yeah.
Zach was only there for 6 games, or he would have done that.
That was it. I was the hold up guy.
Zach didn't have to be told. That was just
I was the
Zach.
hold up guy. Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to end the segment by asking Bill about who was going to win the game because I already knew the answers. We don't have to do that now. We can let him go. Or
No, you need to give a score prediction. If you say Tennessee's going to win, at least give us a score prediction.
I'm a 24-21, but I actually I said it on Thursday that, or I guess this morning.
earlier this morning.
That if Tennessee wins, it actually is probably lower scoring than that, like real gross, like 19-16 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
That's the only
13-10.
way. That's the
13-10. Yeah.
I think that's the only way they win, right?
Yeah,
I don't think Tennessee will score.
They're not going to
24.
win in a shootout.
I think if Ohio State has 3 touchdowns, it might be hard for Tennessee to win. Pretty hard for Tennessee to win.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to the matchup against Georgia. Like, I think it's very similar when they played in Athens earlier this year. Like, Tennessee tried running the football at Georgia, it didn't work, and Carson Beck, no idea what the hell happened to him that game, but he
Or the entire season.
He learned how to throw the football that game.
Yeah.
Like it was like the next coming actual Carson Beck. Like, oh, he showed up and then he went back.
All right. Well, we're going to take our first and only break here. I guess as we're at the halfway house here at the Fairway Columbus. A little playoff kickoff. Thanks to Bill Landis for joining the show. We're going to have Berm there in a minute when we come back right in here. Fairway Columbus playoff kickoff. Three, two, one. All right, we're back. It is the back nine at Fairway Columbus, and Berm is here. Mike, do you have any questions?
Me and Berm have made peace.
What's there to talk about?
Me and Berm have made peace.
Oh, you did already?
We didn't
I have a
disagree
short
on it.
memory. I don't even remember.
You
going
said
on with
you
the
wrote
transfer
it
portal?
down.
What's
That was
going on
just
with
a
the
threat
transfer
to
portal?
Berm.
We didn't
Portal, Berm?
disagree on anything.
I will say, Berm, I got out of myself with my hot take last week,
Yeah.
and then was immediately proven that I was right the entire season.
Yeah.
So
About the defensive line or the offensive line or what?
about our guy,
I believe it was about Will
our
Howard.
leader.
I'm not going to sit here and relitigate my Will Howard opinion all year long. I don't believe he should have been playing after the second quarter in that game, and I'm
Because
gonna stand
of
by it.
his unconscious spell?
Perhaps.
Okay.
I
I didn't know if that was it.
I could give a super hot take when it comes to that, but it's here nor there.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
it's football,
over with.
baby.
We're moving on. That game is over. There's a Tennessee game ahead. I actually think that this season has been the most Urban Meyer-esque season in Ryan Day's career.
How so?
Because the Buckeyes have played their best in the big games, and they lost to a team that they should have never been in. The
It would have
game
been
against.
Urban Meyer-esque if they lost.
It just
to,
happened
like,
to be Michigan.
Purdue or something.
No, hey, listen, those Purdue teams when they got beat were. I remember Iowa. I think was like
Iowa's
5-5,
always
right?
tough.
But they were loaded with NFL players.
yeah,
just like
I
this
was
Michigan
always
team.
tough. I don't know why their record is always trash, but every time we
No,
would
we're
play
just
Iowa,
saying
I was
like
this
Urban in
is-
general would always lose to a 5-5, 6-5 team.
But that's why
Right?
I
NFL
say it's not
talent.
Urban-esque because
Yeah.
he did not lose big games.
I want to say, people are going to. It's Michigan. It's not. I know it's the same. Not the same thing. I'm just saying, like, the Buckeyes, their best performances this season, in my opinion, have been Oregon, even though they lost the game, Penn State, and Indiana. Those are the 3 biggest games this year. 3 top 5 games. Those are the games they played their best. So I head into this weekend saying the Michigan game sucked. It's unfortunate. It's obviously leaves people feeling really crappy about themselves and their work meetings and everything else in Columbus. But you have an opportunity to go win the national championship, and you can't let Michigan beat you again. So if you're not learning from it, then we have much bigger problems. You go into this week and you know what Tennessee's about. You've watched film on them for 3 weeks now. You know who they are. You've watched them play against teams that are similar to yours in Georgia and Alabama and like for like athletes. So you have no excuse. That's the thing about this weekend. Like, there is nothing. I don't care about the offensive line shuffling. I don't care about anything else. Like, there's no excuse to lose this game.
Yeah.
Like, none.
I agree.
I mean, the opponent is good.
No.
The opponent is good, but you're good too.
The opponent's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, the opponents, I think,
It's
very
a
good.
toss-up. It's a freaking playoff
Yeah, I
game,
mean,
right?
I don't know that
worthy
that's-
opponents.
I don't think Ohio
that's
State.
not an excuse. If they beat you, they beat you. There's no excuse to lose this game for any reason other than Tennessee was better. And if they're better than you, fine. But you go out aggressive, you go out swinging, and you go out saying we did everything in our power to win this game. And if you still lose, fine. That's why nobody cares about that Georgia loss 2 years ago. Like, you laid it all out on the line. And, people will nitpick the end. Oh, you could have run the ball here. You could have done this. But, Ohio State was without its 5 best offensive players outside of C.J. Stroud at that point. So, objectively, you can look at it and go, well, there was a few things. Like, if Tennessee beats you, they beat you, fine. But if you come out of this game and Ohio State beat themselves, the conversation's changed considerably, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it's like I wanted to make it clear that Tennessee is a playoff team for a reason. Like, if they win, like, it's not a situation where there's like no excuse. This is an unforgivable loss.
Yeah, but I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. There's a difference of getting beat and Tennessee being the better team, or you get out coached, out schemed. Yeah, I mean,
we know what that looks like. I mean, we've seen it we saw it 3 weeks ago when the team is not prepared to play, and we will know early on Saturday night if they're not prepared to play. I think.
Yeah. I think we might know on the first drive of the game.
Potentially.
Well, that's early.
Pretty early. Yeah.
I'm not going to put everything on the first drive. We are consistently.
Well, I'm not saying you have to
drive.
go score or that you have to get a 3 and out, but like if you're seeing schematic changes, different approaches than what we saw 3 weeks ago, like maybe it's 1 first down and then a punt. I don't know. I'm just saying we might recognize it. It's kind of like porn. You just know it when you see it. It's the legal standard.
I would love to see Ohio State start the game with just trying to run it down Tennessee's throat. Get it out of your system early.
You don't want to do that.
Listen to me. Because I think the issue listen to me.
Oh, no.
The issue with the Michigan game
I know what you're saying.
we started trying to do that in the second quarter and couldn't get away from it. Do that. You always have your scripted 15 plays at the beginning of the game. Get it out of your system. Let Tennessee shut you down for the first drive, and then go light them up.
Oh
no!
Mike.
I stand by it.
Erase that.
I stand by it. No. You listen to it. That's what you should do, Ryan Day. Run it down their throats.
Do not script their offense. They don't script their first 15.
Everybody scripts their first.
They don't script their first.
Everybody
15.
does. And they should.
But
paid $8 million a year. Script your
it's
freaking 15.
It's $10 million.
Is it?
It is $10 million.
Script your first 15.
Here's the thing: if you go out in this crowd, which is already going to be on edge, and you go run up the middle,
run it down the middle.
No, Mike.
I want them to call it out. We're coming down the middle.
Fine. If they get up there and point at them and run it at them 3 times, fine. And then
just Babe Ruth it.
Yeah.
Mike,
just give a drive away.
If that happens, I'll be like, "Am I in a bad dream?"
Give the drive away.
Am I in a bad dream?
Get it out of your system.
Mike,
because then they'll think in the third quarter, maybe we should
hey.
try running down the middle, and they'll be like, we did that in the first quarter, and it didn't work.
Oh,
get it out of your system
just
early.
Do something really dumb so that you learn the lesson.
So that you don't go back to the when you need it.
That's what I thought the entire Michigan game was. So I thought
I'm telling you, they started out trying to throw the ball against Michigan, and then they're like, "Whoa,
this is working. Let's not do it.
Let's try to run it. Maybe that'll." And then they did it in the second quarter. They're like, maybe we go back to it in the third quarter, and then we're looking at the score like, what in the hell is going on?
But also,
all right, new topic. I'm already getting anxiety.
Run it down the middle.
I'm getting anxiety.
That's what I'm saying.
I thought we were done with the hot take segment.
Oh my god!
On the other side of that, though, Mike, there were 2 good drives by the offense in that Michigan game, It was the first one and the last one of the first half, and those were the drives where they just threw it the whole time.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying.
So, like, maybe you should just do the good stuff.
They've
And-
had 3 weeks.
No.
They've
You got to
had-
get the bad stuff out of your system.
flush it.
Mike,
Yeah, flush
Mike,
it.
I swear to God, if I'm Ryan Day, just as a big middle finger to everyone, I'm literally running play action deep ball to Jeremiah Smith the very first play. I don't care. I say, listen, we're riding that fake to Quinshon Judkins, and we are freaking taking a shot as far down the field as we can.
I think the biggest middle finger to everybody from Ryan Day would be running it down the middle.
Oh.
I'm just saying. Then you can go do
How
the play
about-
action. Then
how
you can go do the play actions.
I think all this is terrible.
Oh, my God.
How about they start with
I
some
stand by it.
Hey,
stretch
Mike,
to the
Mike,
boundary
Mike,
and really
Mike,
start
Mike,
cooking.
Mike, if you run the ball
Yeah.
and you get maybe 1 yard and
Yep.
you're 2nd and 9, do you think
Run the ball down the
Tennessee
middle.
thinks you are going to run the ball again?
They think
no,
you're gonna-
if you run
they think
play
you're gonna bubble
action,
pass.
as soon as you show
Run it
play
again.
action, everyone's dropping.
Guess what they're not ready for on 3rd and 8?
A draw.
Run it down the middle. I don't even need a draw.
Oh, my God.
I need a traditional handoff. Run it down the middle.
Yeah.
Then you punt it. Then you let your defense go
Yeah.
get warmed up.
You'll probably be the first team to ever run it on 3rd and long. No one's ever done that before.
We just did that against Michigan.
Where are we at in the program?
This is
you
this
guys,
is
hey,
wild.
listen. You guys think it's crazy, but it works. You got to play the mental game too.
Huh.
And then you can air it out 75 times. the
I
rest of the
believe
game.
fully.
Be
that-
done. That's the
be
end of the
done.
rushing.
Be
All right.
done with it. Get it out of your system in the first drive, and then go do what you do.
I think you should get out of your system before the game starts and say, "Guess what, guys? We're not going to do that."
In pregame, like the last
Yeah.
That's
like
not how
3
human
straight.
nature. That's not how human nature works. If
Yeah.
you start out throwing the ball, at some point in that game, they're going to be like, "What if we ran it down the middle?" And there's nothing that's going to have happen that's
Yeah.
going to disincentivize them from doing that.
No, but what will happen is when you actually are having success throwing the ball, then you can run it up the middle with
Correct.
success. If you're just
No.
going to run it up the middle,
No, that's not how that works.
it's not.
All right, we can
I'm not
switch
saying
topics.
that-
I'm just saying I'm right, but we can switch topics.
You want to know something?
I like how Mike
Hey,
is reverse
yeah.
psychologizing Ryan Day right now.
Mike,
I've never
yeah.
heard of this.
Mike, if you really want to go crazy, you don't run the ball up the middle. What you do is you
End
try,
around,
hey,
double pass.
well, yeah, I was just about
I'm
to say, hey, you do one of two things. You run a trick play, the very first play, or you trot out Julian Sane and go 5 wide for the entire first drive and just throw it.
I'd like all of it.
It won't happen, but
I want to see a little fire.
I like half of that. I'd still rather
The
see
trick
Will
play on the
Howard
first
there.
play would be
It's
fun.
5 wide.
A little flea flicker, yeah. I'd take it.
I did not anticipate any of this.
me neither.
I am rattled.
Well, I mean, I kind of did. I kind of anticipated me getting on the show and things getting stupid and weird. I didn't anticipate
Also,
it
Zach,
coming from Mike, though.
How much your whole thing about Tegra, if you run it up the middle, expose them quick, then we can get the guy in and just run it up the middle. It'll solve every problem.
Mike-
solve every problem.
Mike,
3 plays. I'm saying sacrifice 3 plays.
Mike-
you guys are getting in a tizzy.
Mike, you can back me up on this
What's
because
up?
you understand me.
3 plays.
I'm just listening
Mike,
to your take.
yeah.
I'm good.
Mike, you would say yes, this is true. If I'm playing middle linebacker, right? It's 2012, and I'm playing middle linebacker, and our offense is very much struggling running the football, and we go into the biggest game of our season, and we start running the football, and I'm on the sideline, and I see us not doing anything. I am MFing Urban right to his face and telling him, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I think the entire defense would go up to Ryan Day and
You
be
know
like,
what that would do?
light a fire.
Get the guys going.
I think that there is such
So
a
that's
need.
what that would do.
There is such a glaring need for the Ohio State offense to get off to a quick start in this game that your plan here is suicide.
No, I just
Stadium side. It's
No.
stadium suicide. You cannot risk.
Yeah, you got to get the crowd into it too.
Yeah,
Listen,
the
you
best way
guys,
to
are,
do
you
that
guys
is
are
by
playing
having them-
checkers. I'm playing chess.
It's
Okay.
it's
That's
next
all it
level.
is.
You're playing into the checkerboard end zone's plans is what you're doing.
Oh.
He said I'm playing baccarat.
Oh, wow.
Burt Bacharach.
Okay,
All right, yeah, we can move on.
we can move on, and we
Yeah.
will. So,
I'm confused. where do we go?
I don't know where we came from. I don't know where we're going. I don't know where we came from.
Can we delete that and start over?
no,
We've never
it's-
done a retake on this
All
show. I
right,
think we
3,
need it.
2.
It's out there. No, it's living because Mike stands on it.
I
He's
stand
standing
on,
on
yeah,
business.
I'm not backing down.
So
I believe
Oh my
in it.
God.
it doesn't mean that that's going to be the game
She's
plan.
dressed like a Jedi.
Berm, no one can see what you're talking about. All right,
She looks like a Jedi Knight.
here's what we're doing. We are at the Fairway
Looks
Columbus.
like Mace Windu.
We are building a foursome of Ohio State players who must deliver on Saturday night against Tennessee. You can use a position group.
I'm
That's
going
fine.
first.
So
So
we
you're
each
always
not
going
even a
first.
question. We're only picking one.
I would
person
prefer if you
per-
picked one person.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not even a question. Will Howard.
Okay.
He has to perform. He has to not make his, almost guaranteed 2 mistakes that handicap us. He needs to do what he's capable of doing. We know what he's capable of doing. The guy has one of the best accuracy in all of college football between 5 and 25 yards.
Yep. Intermediate throws.
Do that. Do that. We don't need him to do anything special. We need him to make good decisions. We need him to be a leader that he's been. We need him to protect the ball. Maybe make a couple plays with his feet.
Mhm.
I don't even need that.
Well,
I need
according
you
to
to hit
you,
a couple
all he's got to do
slants.
is hand the ball off.
For 3 plays. For 3 plays, that's all he needs to do.
Okay.
Maybe 5 plays. No, but Will Howard.
Go ahead.
Will Howard needs to be. Yeah. He needs to be what we know he can be.
Yeah.
He needs to not get outside himself. Throw those just ducks into the sideline. We need him to do what he can do. I think he will.
I've been really impressed all year with the way Will Howard responds to adversity, and he's had to do it again. Like, that's the most significant adversity you can face, is losing the Michigan game, and dealing with that injury as well. Just watching him on Monday at the Woody, Zach, was like, every time he was asked about what happened in that game and what's next, he was gripping the side of the podium. Like, he was dragging the podium around the front of the team room because he was so worked up about it. But the thing he said was, like, if he doesn't continue to have confidence in himself, if he can't go back to the sideline and look at them in the face, and if he doesn't think he can deliver moving on, there's no way that Ohio State can win. That's something he's learned throughout his career, that he'd get down on himself. He'd throw a pick in practice, throw a pick at Kansas State. It's like really get into a negative headspace. We've seen it the week right after the Oregon game. Instant accountability. The pick 6 at Penn State, going right back down the field. Even after the loss to Michigan, he still went upstairs and did a press conference, really in a state where he probably shouldn't have. And he should probably, as Berm said earlier, probably should not have been in the game in the second half. Or maybe shouldn't have been in the game.
We don't
I'm not a
know.
doctor. I'm not a doctor.
We can conjecture.
But he has then returned and continues to have very high-level confidence in himself. I've been impressed all along. This is the biggest test now on Saturday night. It's a playoff game. It's make or break. He's coming off of his worst performance. But in terms of the leadership part,
Listen, I like Will Howard as a person. As a player, I also like Will Howard.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's 1 to 2 plays a game where you're like, why in the heck did you just do that?
I get it.
I honestly, I also, that doesn't even bother me too much, because great quarterbacks have to take chances. Yeah. They have to be a little bit, brave with what they're doing. It's just heartbreaking. Don't do that on your own 20 or something like that. Like,
in the red zone.
The red zone, it's a bad time.
Yeah.
But I do think that he has a tremendous ceiling if our play calling plays to his strengths, which I don't think it always does.
Yeah, let me add one thing. It almost seems like every time he makes a mistake, and especially you saw in the Michigan game when he his first pick, when Michigan almost returned it for a touchdown, every single time it looks like he starts to hurry. And you can see it. Like, he starts to pat the ball and feels like he has to make a decision, kind of gets frantic. I don't think that's a Will Howard trait, and I hate to say this. I don't think he has trust in the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
Like, he knows I've only got so many seconds. So when he's starting going through, like, you can see it. It's normally never his first or second read when the interception happens. It's normally his third or fourth read because he's gone through it and he's like, I need to make a decision, and he automatically throws it to his third or fourth read thinking, like, they have to be open. And it's definitely a trust thing with the offensive line. I'm not going to get more into it, but
Maybe the Penn State approach was perfect, Mike, because he can go get the mistake done early, and then you're just done with it. Like, just.
But I'm the crazy guy
picking
for
a
saying
player?
run the ball
Are
for
you
the
picking a
first 3
player?
plays.
I'm just stunned. We've come to a point where, like, the mindset is just make all your mistakes as soon as possible, and then just come back and
That's
win.
not a novel concept.
It's also not a great strategy.
What, you want to make them in the fourth quarter?
I don't want to make them.
Yeah,
They
I don't
get
wanna make
made.
I
They
don't
get
wanna
made whether you want it to or not.
I think that what I don't like about the mistakes that we've seen out of Will Howard in the last few weeks is that they're in what I would not really call, like, aggressive situations by Ohio State. I want mistakes to happen out of aggression. I don't want mistakes to happen out of panic, which is what you're alluding to. And so to me, like, the guy that matters the most in this game is Jeremiah Smith, who you already talked about earlier. If Will Howard needs confidence, what he should do is watch 3/4 of the Tennessee secondary because they're terrible. Terrible. Take shots down the field in this game. Put them on notice. Andre Turrentine, I think, is in a position after running his mouth about Ohio Stadium and about the crowd noise at Ohio Stadium, is in a position to be one of the all-time goats of college football when he gets beat repeatedly because he's terrible. And Ohio
Goats has become a different.
Yeah, I don't know if you use that. How I thought
I'm using it like a white man would use it about a guy who's getting,
think we just beat up goats.
who's bad. We used to call that, it was the GOAT, Now we flipped everything. Everything that's bad is good. Everything that's good is bad. I understand we live in the upside
Goat's
down.
an acronym.
Yes, but
All right.
I'm speaking.
He's using it
As an animal.
An animal goat.
I'm using
you
it as
beat.
in.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
And he's not good. And Ohio State has more than just Jeremiah Smith who can get down the seam and beat a guy like that.
Like a goat.
Okay.
But they have to take the shots down the field.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nonstop worry and complaint and discussion about Ohio State's ability, Will Howard's ability to throw it down the field. They've done it less than any quarterback probably in the country. So now's the time. If you want to do something that Tennessee's not expecting, come out and get vertical and do that. But you do that by getting the ball to Jeremiah Smith. And even if you're getting him the ball at the 15-yard mark or the 10-yard mark, he's a guy that just get him one-on-one against Andre Turrentine and you're getting touchdowns. So whoever it is, Carnell Tate's had a good run in the last month. Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah, obviously, Brandon Ennis, Bryson Rogers, who's a guy you can put out there and maybe get some surprise matchups with because he's going to beat anybody in their secondary other than their one all-conference corner. Like, again, all I want to see on Saturday night, win or lose, is an aggressive Ohio State approach and an aggressive play-calling opportunity from Chip Kelly and Ryan Day.
Last game of the year.
Be
can't hold
aggressive.
anything back
There's
now.
no reason to sit
You don't
back.
score until you score.
Yeah. I agree with you.
So
100%.
like it's got to be just pedal to the metal, and you do. I said it on Bold Predictions on Friday morning. Like I think Jeremiah Smith needs 15 targets in this game, so
at least.
you got to get him the ball.
I agree.
Yeah.
Who's your
All right,
guy?
we got
Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith.
This is the week where you're going with the big guns that have to play their best. And that means that Caleb Downs needs to be a superstar. Right? He's critical against the run. If what I'm saying is true, that Tennessee's not going to be able to run the ball, he's going to have to, anytime there's something that may slip out, and maybe you put him in the box. I don't know what the defensive game plan is, Zach. I don't know what their solution is when Tennessee spreads the field and puts those wide receivers way outside the hashes and tries to put stress on you. But whether that's against the pass, whether that's against the run, Caleb Downs is the best defensive player in America. And if you're going to win a game that I think is going to be low scoring, could be a little bit of a cold weather rock fight, your star safety at the back has got to play like the star safety in the back. And he had a big play in the Michigan game. He and Jack Sawyer both did. They had interceptions that should go down in Ohio State history, and now they're lost to history. Yeah. They were both phenomenal plays that you do not see average players make. You don't even see good players make those plays. Those were great to elite to sensational plays. Caleb Downs is going to have to make one of those at least. He may need to do that on special teams as well. But if you're talking about guys that have to maximize on Saturday night, he's it, especially for the Silver Bullets.
Completely agree with you. You took my guy.
Oh,
No,
yes.
I know. It's
You told me to go.
I know. I did tell you to go. And I thought there was after our conversation on Monday, thought there was a reason you were going to take him, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think Caleb Downs is the recipe for victory for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think he is going to show out.
Well, I'd steal everything from you. So
I know. I like it. So I'm going to take it a step further now, and you said I can say a position group. Since you said Caleb Downs, I'm going to go defensive line. The defensive line has to play big in this game. We talked about Dylan Sampson wanting to run the football. Dylan Sampson's a great running back. We talked about it on Monday. I think Dylan Sampson's the best running back Ohio State has seen all year. I think he's a very explosive, a workhorse kind of guy that they're going to give the ball, 25 times on Saturday night. Dylan Sampson has to be shut down, and you got to force Nico to try and beat you through the air, because if that happens, it will not happen.
Yeah.
And so if you are the Buckeyes defensive front, get after Dylan Sampson in this running game. Tennessee's offensive line's legit. They're Cooper Mays, I think, the center, very good player. The Buckeyes got to get big, right? And then we already talked about it multiple times on this show. Once you stop the run, this defensive line has to get after the quarterback. Like, you need that Bosa brothers, Chase Young, Mike Bennett. Yeah, kind of X factor play when it is 2nd and 7 and you get a sack to make it 3rd and 15. It just is deflating. You have to get after the quarterback. You got to make those big explosive plays. Like, I feel like this team and this defense is so good, but I feel like that's the one thing that they're missing. Like that salivating defensive lineman that gets after the quarterback constantly, that they can rely on in those big situations, because I think they're great. But they have had some third down issues, and they even had them against Michigan, right? Like, there were some third downs that got completed that Michigan should not through the air that they should not be getting completed. So you have to be able to get after Nico, get after the quarterback, get some X factor plays on that side of the football. So I'm going defensive line. I'm fired up.
I think it's situational pass rushing. Like, you can't. You said you have to make Nico beat you through the air, right? You can't let him. And you guys talked about it in the first segment. You can't let him beat you with his legs.
No.
So if it's 3rd and 7, you need to go get him, or you need to back off, right? Like, but you can't let him break free and scramble for 14 yards in that situation. If he's going to beat you with the pass, let him. Tennessee has super wide splits. They run a lot of deep routes. They don't do a lot of short stuff. They're counting on getting time to throw. So you have to do it smart, but you also, as you talked about earlier, you can't just go crazy and rush past the quarterback. So it's a big moment for Jack and JT to show up and play smart football and not just aggressive football on defense. They can't let him sneak out and beat you that way.
I'm going to take it a step further. I really like Jack and JT, but I think they are almost undersized defensive tackles playing defensive end, and I've said it for a long time. I think they're great players, but at the NFL, they're not defensive.
They're going to be what we call big ends or 3 techs.
Yeah, they're gonna be, Jack will probably go on the 3 tech. JT will probably be a 5 tech and a 3-4.
I was going to flip flop, but they're interchangeable.
Whatever.
Whoever
it
puts
be,
on
right?
the most weight.
Correct. And so I think when you get in those situations, like Larry Johnson also has to put this team in a successful front. Where guess what? If it is a passing situation, don't go after Nico with 4 basically defense tackles, right? Like, put in some speed guys at the end. And I know they call the Rushman package, but you're putting your 2 most athletic guys in Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry on the inside where your speed is, where they should be on the outside. And if anything, if you want to keep Jack and JT in there, put them inside where they can use their power, where, you know, they can collapse the pocket. They're not doing that on the outside, right?
To drill down on the defensive line, really, I think the most important player in this game is Tyleik Williams, because you have to have some pass rush up the middle, and he has to be able to hold the point of attack and not allow himself to get pushed back where Cody Simon and Sonny Styles are getting hit 3-4 yards up. They need to have a clear lane to hit a running back. Tyleik Williams has played fairly well this year when he's played, but it has certainly not been a redux of what he did a year ago. And it's time for him to have his best game of the year if Ohio State's going to win.
I'll tell you, there are plenty of ways to handle scrambling QBs. You know, back when I was playing, I don't know if we have a Ryan Shazier or Darren Lee that you can use as a spy to just flush out a QB and then just go hawk them.
Sonny Styles certainly has the physical traits to be that guy.
Then that's who we need as
Arvell
a spy.
Reese.
Anybody who's fast, you just sit him back
Cody
there.
Cody has the speed to be that guy.
And you
well.
say, go flush him out. Or you do the cage technique, which is what I was telling you, which is boring, and as a D lineman, it sucks, but it is effective in college. Or what I haven't seen much of, and I don't want to indict them yet because I'd have to go and watch the games more closely to see. Run games, man. Run games. We're talking
They've
about
started in the second half doing more of that. That's
good because it's a chess match. It's a game-long chess match. The amount of times I see the ends just rushing up the field, like, what are we doing? Run games. Get those D linemen, get those D tackles to fold. Get them to run, twists and everything.
But I would also say if you're going to run a game, actually run the game and run it with the proper personnel. Because I know there were multiple times in the Michigan game where they tried running a game, like an X game.
Hey, there are good
or
and bad ways to run games.
Yeah,
they're
an X game,
art.
twist, whatever it was. And the guy just didn't get there. Like,
it's an art.
It was a terrible game, right? So, like, if that happens, now you're creating glaring holes.
Yeah.
You've got defensive linemen right next to each other. So, if you're going to run games, actually run them and put in the proper personnel to run the game.
You have luxury of having the 2 best safeties in America behind your linebackers. You can do things and be creative in creating almost like a 4 linebacker set with Lathan and Caleb if you know they're running the ball. You don't have to bring in Arvell Reese in this situation. You don't have to do a lot of different things if the guys up front are just winning their one-on-one battles.
Yeah.
Win your battle.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what's the score going to be?
I know it's cold. I know that doesn't play in favor of teams that throw the ball a lot. I'm going to go 35-12 us.
35-12?
Everything that you guys have said that it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a defensive battle.
Wait, he said
He
once
acts
they're
like
done.
I said run the football 55 times. I said 3
The
times.
reality is in college football these days, when you have good offenses, like 35-31 is a low-scoring game when there's
I think
two
our
good
defense
teams.
is exceptional.
When
I
there's
think
two
our
good
defense
teams.
is exceptional.
Agreed.
And I think that the cold weather is going to make it hard to have, just a free-flowing offense. But I think our offense is going to be inspired. I think Ryan Day learned his lesson about listening to narratives, and he's going to actually play.
Attempting field goals.
Hey, it's too late in the show for that.
Are they kicking one?
It's too late in the show for that.
Are they kicking one on Saturday?
I hope not.
Go for it on 4th. Go for the Dan Campbell
Hope
recipe.
not. Better not. What's your score?
He goes last.
I've already given mine today.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it.
21-16, Ohio State.
I think that's a fair score.
21-16. Okay. I really like a. So this is where I'm stuck. I really like a 24, 27, 13 score, Buckeyes. But
Interesting.
to your point, that's why I brought up: are the Buckeyes really going to kick a field goal? Is Ryan Day going to trust a kicker in this situation? This isn't me
Can't do
throwing
it.
shade at a kicker.
Throw the
I just
shade,
think he
man.
might be. I think he
throw
might
the
be more.
void at it.
It's
I
a
think-
fair assessment.
Yeah, I think he might be more aggressive. So instead of that, I'm gonna go 28-13.
Especially with your defense playing the way it is.
Yeah, correct. I think
Just let it fly.
28-13 Buckeyes.
Austin's is 24-13. He said it all week.
Not changing. Not backing down. It's locked in.
I think this is one of those games where, if Ohio State loses, you're going to see a bunch of Tennessee fans on our video coming back, in the week. Oh, these homers say Ohio State. Like, there's clearly a path for Tennessee to win this game.
For sure.
Nobody's saying that there
Yeah,
isn't.
but Ohio State
It's a playoff game.
has played its best in its biggest games this year, other than the Michigan game, which, again, from a purely who you're playing perspective, you didn't think it was going to be your biggest game. So that's why.
You want to know something? Just openly speaking, candidly, I was more confident for the Oregon game than I am this game. Like, when I thought the Buckeyes were going to Eugene, I was.
But how much of that
confident
is
they
just
were gonna
because of what happened 3 weeks ago?
Well, that counts.
win.
And the offensive line situation.
The offensive line definitely has something to do with it. I don't know if 3 weeks ago has something to do with it. I think the offensive line has something to do with it. I also, and I hate to bring this up, I think for some reason, when there's a storyline that gets pushed, mentally Ohio State, it's like a mental block. And I'm going to bring it up because everyone's talked about it. SEC football, right? Like, there's been a mental block there, and it
the
just
SEC
worries me.
is
Don't get me fired up, man.
SEC is 0-3 in Ohio Stadium.
No, the last time was 1988,
Hey,
right?
man, whatever.
No, I know.
It's the narrative.
No, I
We're
know.
setting the narrative here.
I know. I'm saying just Ohio State in general over the last 15, 20 years has always been
Couldn't be me.
they can't beat the SEC team, right? And so I think that narrative is still out there. It's been talked about some, and so
Why?
that's why I get
10
nervous.
years ago-
You guys beat Arkansas.
10 years ago,
no
Couldn't be
problem.
me, baby. Arkansas, Alabama, chop them down.
What
Couldn't
happened
be
10
me.
years ago in the Sugar Bowl?
Whooped that butt.
Listen, I get it. There's been a lot of SEC teams since then.
I think that, but
I got beat by
Well,
one.
I'm still living in 10 years ago, man. I'm still living in 2014.
I think my counter to that, Zach, would be Ohio State doesn't respond to that one the same way that it has the game. Like, that lives clearly.
No, I get it, guys. I was just making a point of
I'm not-
from a confidence level. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
but I don't think the players on this team are like, oh, the SEC. I don't think they have that fear. There hasn't been enough head-to-head in the last half a decade that makes you have
guys.
that.
I
be
don't think it's a player fear.
think?
I don't think it's a player fear. I think it goes more into a coaching fear because I don't think the players at all were fearing Michigan 3 weeks ago. But obviously there's some kind of thing in the coach's locker room, right? Some
Of toughness or
yeah,
something.
they needed what's the guy from Major League where he's got the little smoke.
Joe Boo?
Joe Boo?
Yeah, Joe Boo. They need
No,
like
Joe
some,
Boo is the bat or
Oh.
is his
Pedro
Whatever.
Serrano?
Pedro.
yeah,
Serrano.
Pedro. They need some of that, right? Like
Okay.
whatever. So
So they're going to run it
worries
3
me.
times, and they're going to bring Joe Boo out.
Thank you.
We got a bunch of solutions.
I can't believe you guys pushed back on running it 3 times that hard. Like, you're traumatized.
I'm just saying,
You're traumatized.
You don't just
Run it 3 times.
You don't voluntarily go 3 and out on your first drive.
Pun
Yes, you do.
intended.
Yes, you do.
Pun
We
intended.
do it all the time.
Hey, I had a great time.
Not on purpose.
Hearing all the ideas, all the players, all the hot takes. It was great to be back at the Fairway Columbus with you guys talking about this game. I'm really excited for it on Saturday night.
Can
And
I say one more thing?
Of course
on a
you can,
positive
Zach.
note, right?
I get one more thing
Be
after
positive.
this, too.
Yeah,
let me have one more
let's-
thing.
Let's get it out.
And I've said this to you off air. If
You
that's
just
what
want it
wanna
out
call
there
it.
for everyone else.
I want it out there for everyone because
Just spilling it all.
I'll stand on this. If Ohio State wins this game on Saturday, I think it springboards them into beating Oregon and going on an historical run. I truly believe that. I think this game is the hardest game they will have until maybe the national championship game. And the reason why I think that is because after 3 weeks ago of just getting up the national media, bad-mouthing your head coach, bad-mouthing your team, talking trash about how much money you spent in the offseason just for this season to be a complete failure, I think if you win this game, it will springboard you into Oregon, who you should have beat in Eugene, but you didn't. And it's going to gain confidence. They're going to beat Oregon. They go off. I think they're going to make a massive run, but they have to win this game.
Yeah.
I love that. Mine is a little different type of take. When Ohio State wins this game, I want them to plant the flag at midfield.
Okay.
I think we need to reclaim the
On
field.
their own stadium?
In our own stadium.
I love it.
Band of Brothers
I do,
style. I will salute the flag. Like
That's the best thing you've said all night.
we've had too many flags on that field. When we win,
I think it's a great
reclaim
Say
the
this is
stadium.
our land.
This is ours.
It's like when the Americans planted the American
You
flag,
know what I'm saying?
right?
On
Yeah.
the moon.
On
It's
the
a-
moon.
This is America.
Claimed it
Allegedly,
legally
yes.
ours now.
Okay, if we're going to say one final thing, let me say this. There's been this back and forth between Ohio versus the world and the Woody versus the world. If you're an Ohio State fan going to this game, or are you still on the fence about going to this game and you're in Columbus,
Go to it.
go to the game. Support the
Ticket
team.
prices going down. Get in the door.
It has to be Ohio against the world this weekend. It has to.
It's in a historic game. As the years go on, everyone's going to be like, I was there for the first ever home playoff football game. Like, this is a huge ordeal.
It was a cover, and it was a win against Tennessee. I couldn't believe it. It was there. It was magical. It was cold. The real field was 9 degrees.
No doubt. And guess what? It was an experience
I
of
had
a
bunch of
lifetime.
Fireball at Zach Boren's
The energy
tailgate.
was crazy. Yeah, correct. We were smoking fat cigars as that clock hit 0 in
And
the
tickets
fourth
were
quarter.
only $60.
Correct.
Is that what they're going for right now?
They're getting there.
They're dropping.
Nice.
They're dropping. You can.
They're dropping like the real field temp.
Yeah.
All right. Are you 3 done?
That's all I need.
Yeah.
I need to see that flag
I
fly.
guess I'm done. Whatever.
I love
I like that. Yeah,
I
I'm
love that
totally
idea.
on board. You know what? If they win and no one else has grabbed it, I will take the flag to midfield and do it myself.
Do it.
Oh, my God.
Do it.
Son.
We need it. We need somebody. I don't care who does
Hey,
it.
listen,
somebody
it has
to
happen.
do it.
Hey, you're
It
on
has
the
to happen.
you're on the sideline. You should put it in a player's ear.
Uh-huh.
Let's say, guess what?
Yeah.
Claim our field.
Yeah.
Claim it back.
Take it back,
Never know.
Don't threaten him with a good time.
please, Berm. For me.
I'll join
Anything
you.
for you.
That'd
with
be
a
good
with a
content.
bourbon in my hand and cigar in my mouth. I'll join you. Rally the brothers.
Yeah.
You can take the handheld camera for the notebook and just start with Berm planting the flag at midfield.
It'd be fun.
It'd
I
be
don't know how I'm
incredible.
going to carry that flag in the
Well,
the camera
I'll
sometime.
shoot it for
Yeah,
you.
good idea.
Okay.
Those flags are actually a lot heavier.
They are. That wind starts blowing.
Yeah.
You got to fight for it.
Well, Ohio State did do that at the end, but that's another story. All right. Appreciate the Fairway Columbus for having us out. If you're not going to be in the Horseshoe, and all of us up here say you should be, there's a watch party on Saturday, 8 o'clock, $20 buckets, $50 golf if you want to do it at the same time. It's the place to be. Fairway Columbus, best indoor simulator, bar none. So come hang out here.
But there is a bar also.
Yeah, you can. I didn't say you couldn't drink or eat food. The McGinnis
But
Grill
you
is-
said bar none.
Bar one.
One bar, bar none.
All right, let's get out of here, man.
I thought we were getting
Yeah,
out
I
of here,
know.
but anyway.
I'm not done.
Thanks to Bill Landis. Thanks to Jeremy Birmingham. Thanks to Zach Boren. Thanks to Michael Bennett. Thanks to the Fairway Columbus. First playoff game in Ohio Stadium history, Saturday night, 8 p.m. against Tennessee. Can't wait for it. I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you there.